This is going to be a bit of a bold statement, but I personally believe the coronavirus has allowed people to play the lazy card. What's going on, guys? My name's David Tomic and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the 2019 MacBook Pro versus the 2020 MacBook Pro and why I believe Apple has copped out on developing what could have been such a great product. 2020 should have been one of the biggest years for technology. It was lined up to be a history-making decade. 2019 set the standard in folding tech and new gadgets that we'd never seen before. If 2020 were to play out the correct way without the global pandemic, we probably would have seen a much bigger demand and a much greater leap in technology this year. Unfortunately, it has given people the opportunity to sit back and go, no, from a business point of view, we're not going to put the best products out there on the market. We're not going to make sure we are the leaders in the industry. Instead, we're going to take a step back and go, people are going to buy our stuff because that's who we are. This is my belief for the 2020 MacBook Pro anyway, especially when you compare the base model 2020 to the base model 2019. So one of the most interesting features about a new MacBook Pro is what happens to the pricing model, how Apple decides where it's going to place it in the rank of all its other products. If we take a look at the last decade of MacBook pricing, we're going to see a very interesting graph appear. So in 2010, the MacBook Pro came in at 1,799 Australian dollars or 1199 USD. It followed that trend in 2011 and 2012 as well. But in 2012, it introduced a Retina display as well, which bumped it up to 1,699 USD or 2499 AUD. In 2013, it had a huge price bump for 2,299 Australian dollars or 1,499 USD as its base model, then dropped back down all of a sudden, surprisingly, to $1,999 for the introductory MacBook Pro 13-inch model. In 2015, it kept this price point until 2016. They introduced the Touch Bar. It leapt back up to 2,299 Australian dollars for the model without the Touch Bar, or 2,699 with the Touch Bar. When 2018 came in, they started phasing out the Touch Bar secretly by introducing the two-model system, so the model without the Touch Bar dropped to $1,999, but the model with the Touch Bar remained the same price at $2,699. In 2019, we saw that price nosedive a little bit because they removed the secondary option without the Touch Bar, and it led to a price point of 1,999 Australian starting, which is what it is today in 2020. It's interesting to note how the economic periods have affected this company and how it's affected their starting price. We've started at $1,799 for their flagship top of the range, peaked out at $2,300 for their intro model, and then dropped back down to $1,999. So a laptop now, a flagship laptop, which has most of the parts from a year ago's model, is still the same price as a year ago's model. That gets me into the topic and theme of this video today. The 2019 MacBook Pro and the 2020 MacBook Pro are very similar devices from a base model point of view. Both have the Touch Bar and Touch ID as standard, both have an Intel i5 core processor as standard, both have the 13-inch screen as standard, both have the Retina display, 8 GB of RAM, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, and 10 hours of battery life as standard. Where they start to differentiate is the 2020 model offers more storage as standard than the 2019 model. So instead of having to purchase the upgraded model with 256 GB versus the 128 GB as standard in the 2019 model, the 2020 model now comes with 256 GB of storage as standard. The 2020 model is for some reason 0.7 millimeters thicker than the 2019 model and 30 grams heavier than the 2019 model. This isn't a very significant difference. You probably won't notice this in day-to-day life. So it wouldn't be something that I would go and say, oh no, it's a huge difference, don't buy it from this fact. Now, one of the biggest and best changes to this keyboard is the simple fact that they've reintroduced the escape key as a physical button. If you're somebody like me who hits that button at least 1,000,000 times a day, it is definitely a nice inclusion to see in the 2020 MacBook Pro. Where it does start to get a little bit different and where it does start to justify a new model, a new introduction, is the simple change in the keyboard setup. The 2020 MacBook Pro comes with a scissor switch keyboard setup versus the old butterfly switch keyboard. If you've used a 2019 or previous MacBook Pro, you're going to notice that the keyboard isn't too nice to use and it feels like you're just tapping on aluminium the whole time. Whereas the new 2020 MacBook keyboard has your traditional scissor switches, which feels like it has a little bit more travel and is a nicer product at the end of the day. The difference between scissor switches and butterfly switches is scissor switches do what you think. There's two little plastic blades inside that go up and down as the key pushes versus butterfly switches, which do the opposite like butterfly wings do. Now, if you were to walk into a shop today and see the 2019 MacBook Pro and the 2020 MacBook Pro side by side at the exact same price, you would definitely purchase the brand new 2020 model thanks to the upgrade of the keyboard. But on the other hand, if you were to walk into that store and the 2019 model was significantly discounted, which it's more than likely going to be, and you are okay with how that keyboard feels, then personally, in my opinion, I would definitely go with the 2019 MacBook Pro because it's an identical machine. There isn't any major changes except that keyboard that is going to throw you off. That's all from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and more importantly, thank you so much for subscribing. Yesterday, we hit 2,000 subscribers on the channel. It isn't a lot, but it's a lot more than we started with. So thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. And as always, I'll see you next Monday.